Welcome to our commercial class this afternoon. My name is Bonaventure. Welcome. Today we are going to look at negotiable instruments. And by negotiable instruments, we look at the characteristics of those negotiable instruments. We'll also look at the negotiability and their transferability. We are also going to learn about the types of checks, promissory notes, and bills of exchange. And in addition, we'll also look at the rights and obligations of the parties concerned on those instruments. Welcome. As to the nature and characteristic of negotiable instruments, if a negotiable instrument is made payable to bearer, the title to it passes by delivery. By that I mean, if, for example, a check is just an open check, not addressed to a particular person, so that check can be cashed across the counter so long as the bearer presents it to a bank. It will be cashed because it's not addressed to a particular person. It's just a bearer check. Also, if made payable to order, the title to it passes by endorsement and delivery. If it is made that pay so and so, so it can be endorsed by whoever is being asked to be paid, can also endorse to another person, and the other person also can also endorse to another person, and so on and so on. So, like in the case of bills of exchange, it could be endorsed many times to other parties. Also, the holder, in due course, the holder having the appeal of exchange at the time, can also transfer it to another person without any notice at all. Therefore, when you look at these bills of exchange, they have several endorsements. But if it is said account pay only, such an instrument will not be subject to endorsement other than the person to whom it is named therein to be paid. It cannot be endorsed to another person. And the endorsement comes about this way. For example, a bill of exchange is actually a form of documentary credit that requires one person to pay money to another. It is a negotiable instrument. And as a negotiable instrument, it is unconditional. It is not conditional. It is an unconditional order in writing, addressed by one person to another, signed by the person giving it, requiring the persons to whom it is addressed to pay on demand or at a fixed or determinable future time a sum certain in money to or to the order of a specified person or to bearer. So, in order a bill of exchange to be correct, in order for a bill of exchange to be correct, it must be in writing. A bill of exchange, in order to be deemed correct, it must be, or genuine, it must be in writing. It must not be just a formal promise, no. It must be in writing. It must contain an unconditional order to pay. It must not have other conditions other than unconditional order to pay. It must be also signed by the drawer. The drawer of that bill of exchange must sign it. And as you know, to any instrument, there are three parties to it. And the said parties must be known. The drawer, the drawee, must be the endorser. All those parties must be known. And the parties must be certain of the following: that the order that the order to pay a certain sum of money must be there. The instrument must contain an order to pay money and money only. It must also comply with the formalities as regards the date, the consideration, and the stamp. So, the order must be to pay money, and money only. It must also comply with the formalities as regards the date, the consideration. The consideration is the amount of money, and also the stamp on that negotiable instrument. So when you hear the word like presentation of a bill of exchange, it means the method of transferring that bill of exchange to another person. When you are representing that bill of exchange to another person, you say that kind of situation is called presentation of a bill of exchange to another person. And also on a bill of exchange, we have types of endorsement. Because a bill of exchange, obviously, the holder of it will have to endorse to other people, because the bill was endorsed, was drawn in his name, but then Probably the bill you had, the draw of the bill said that you will pay after 3 months. That after 3 months, the bill must have matured. So what happens is, the drawee must opt to endorse to another person to give him money, and then that person can wait for that time to come. Or even that person can also endorse to another person until that date comes, and then finally the bill of exchange is cashed and money paid. So when you are endorsing a bill of exchange, we have an endorsement. We have about 5 endorsements. One is called a blank endorsement. The holder of the bill endorses the bill by signing his name on it at the back of the bill, and passes the bill in favor of a third party, who can again endorse it in favor of any other party, just by mere physical delivery. Just by mere physical delivery can endorse it to another party. So in blank endorsement, the holder of the bill can endorse the bill by signing the name on it, and it passes to a third party. And that party, if the third party wants also to endorse it, can also do so, and they get the money that appears on that bill of exchange. 2, we also have special endorsement. In special endorsement, the holder of the bill writes the name of the endorsee to whom the bill is transferred to. The endorsee can then transfer the bill in favor of some other party. That's a special endorsement. In a special endorsement, the endorsee can endorse to can name a person to whom he wants the bill to go, and that person can present the bill when it is due, when its time of maturity comes, or can also endorse it to some other person also, who will wait until the date comes and then endorses the same. So we also have restrictive endorsement. The holder of the bill endorses the bill in favor of a definite person, and thereby restricts the right of subsequent endorsement. That one is a restrictive endorsement, such that whoever that bill will be presented to will be the only one. He will not have an option of also endorsing it to any other person. So that one is called restrictive endorsement. We also have endorsements as recourse. That means without recourse, the holder relieves himself from any liability to all the subsequent endorses in the case of dishonor of appeal. The holder acts in a representative capacity as an agent, and not as a principal. The endorsement of the bill cannot treat the endorser as the drawee. It cannot treat the endorser as the drawee. The drawee is the person to whom the check or the bill is thrown in in favor of. We also have another endorsement called facultative endorsement. The endorser of the bill waives some of the rights to which he is entitled. The endorser clearly states the right which is being given up by him while endorsing the bill. Facultative endorsement. For example, you may say that instead I being given such a money, I will be given such a money, but I will give up certain amount of money on the said bill. So long as I'm given this one, you will have to demand that one. But for me, I will cede some of the amount that you are supposed to pay me. So that is called facultative endorsement. We can also look at the types of crossing on checks. For example, a check, we have a general crossing where some lines are drawn on the left-hand side. So those lines have their meanings, and their meanings are this. We have a general crossing, addition of two parallel lines, two parallel transverse lines. The effect of this crossing is that the check must be paid only to the banker. It cannot be paid to any other person other than the banker. We also have a special crossing. The name of the banker is specified on the face of the check. That's a special crossing. If it is Standard Bank, if it is KCB, if it is Barclays, it must be stated on that check. That is called a special crossing. We also have a not negotiable crossing. The check must contain the words not negotiable. The check must be crossed generally or especially by writing the name of the banker, the title of the transferee shall not be better than the title of the transferor himself. We also have other checks which are called account, which have what we call account payee crossings. Account payee crossings, it's also a kind of restrictive crossing, because the check or the cross must contain the words account payee only. The effect of this is that the check does not remain negotiable anymore. It does not remain negotiable anymore. We have looked at appeal of exchange. We have also looked at checks. We also have what we call promissory notes. Somebody promises to pay a certain amount of money to a particular person on such and such a date. So our promissory note, on the other hand, is like the others but different in the material facts. Our promissory note to be valid, must be in writing. It cannot be verbal. It must be in writing. 2, it must be signed by the maker, who must be a certain and definite person. It must contain an unrestricted promise to reimburse a definite amount of money only. The amount of money must be certain and definite. The promise must be expressed, not implied. The promise note must be paid on demand or a set future date. That is now a promissory note. That a promise made must be in writing, that it must be signed by the maker, that it must contain an unrestricted promise to reimburse a definite amount of money to the other. The promise must be expressed but not implied. It must be expressed but not implied. The promise note must also be paid on demand or at a date that they had set. So, my dear students, today we come to the end of our lesson. Until next time, bye-bye.